Okay, so now you want to work out and you've picked your program out, but right as you're about to get started, you realize that either one, you can't do the movements they're asking you to do, or two, you don't have the right equipment for the movement. What do you do? Well, that's a pretty good question, but the good news is pretty much every exercise is modifiable. But the bad news is that sometimes it can be a little tricky and you have to be a little creative to find a substitute. I have a home gym and sometimes I don't have all the equipment my workout asks for. And oftentimes I'll have to modify my movements to fit what I have available. However, I have pretty much two main principles that I follow when I modify an exercise that usually gets me to where I need to be. The first question I ask is, one, what is the basic movement that I'm replacing? And the second is, what is the intent behind the programming? For identifying what movement you're replacing, you can start dividing kind of into broad categories. Is this an upper or is this lower? And then you can kind of get down from there into more complex, meaning, is this a lunge? Is this a squat? Is this a push, pull, hinge, carry, core, aerobic work, anaerobic work, all these different things. So as you can see, it can get a little complicated, but don't let perfection get in the way of good enough. For the intent question, we'll need to look at the program and try to figure out what the programmer was trying to get at when they programmed that initial movement. Is the movement you're supposed to do 3 sets of 3 reps? Well then, it might be geared a little more towards strength improvement, whereas if the exercise is part of a circuit, it may be more of a conditioning piece. If this is all new to you, don't sweat it too much. If you can't do the exercise, you can try to Google search exercise name and replacement and see if something works. Or if you can't figure that out, you can always limit the weight or range of motion of the exercise if it's just a little easier for you. If it's a super complicated movement, like maybe some gymnastic work or an Olympic lift, you actually might need to get some help with that. But if it's more straightforward, you can kind of give it your best effort and either follow the program as you're able to, maybe make a modification, maybe you decrease the movement range of motion or the weight, or find a similar exercise and use that instead. There's lots of ways around it. I always want to err on the side of being too cautious though, because if you don't go quite as hard, that's okay. You'll live to lift another day. But if you go way too hard, way too fast, or way too much weight and hurt yourself, then it sets you back. Every workout is modifiable, and our end goal is to get you moving and stay an athlete for life. To do this, we'll have to tweak some things as they come up and adapt as we grow as athletes. This is something I've started to incorporate over the past few years, and it's been really great for my workouts. I'll do probably an entire podcast on this at some point. It's really important to me, but I just want to let you know that it's okay to modify things if you need to. That being said, if you can follow a program, you should probably just do that because the way it was probably programmed for a reason, and it'll be helpful to let you know if you're responding to that program. But modification of exercises and activities is a core belief of mine, and as a sports doctor, my goal is to help you move better and stay out of trouble, so we can do that anytime we feel it's necessary.